Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. Better late than never on a couple of these reviews. Hopefully, this week is a little bit kinder with my schedule. Anyway, this is the Impact review for June the 2nd, 2020. Overall, not really a bad show this week. Better than SmackDown. I actually watched SmackDown last night, and better than SmackDown overall. So that's about 3 or 4 weeks in a row that happens to be the case. In any event, like, subscribe, comment below if you are interested in what we're doing here. Impact dedicates its show to open the show to George Floyd and his family. They did not do much on social media, if anything at all, during the show. Before they do the dedication, they do an opening recap of the number one contenders tournament, and then they move on to the opening match, which is Kiera Hogan, Tasha Steelz versus Kylie Rae and Susie. Of course, Susie is otherwise known as Su Yung in an alter ego position. I love Kylie Rae. Kylie Rae is, to me, where WWE went wrong with Bayley. I understand that Bayley's character had to evolve, but for her to drop the innocence thing altogether, I think, was an evolution in the wrong direction. It will be interesting to see what Impact does when they decide to turn Kylie Rae heel, if they ever decide to. So anyway, Rae and Steelz start the match. Control of the wrist early, and Steelz pulls the hair. Very basic stuff. Susie tags in and is mocked by Steelz, but she nails her with a slap. Hogan tags in, and a series of close tags here. Steelz comes in and trash talks her, and Hogan and Steelz work over Susie for quite a lot of quick tags, double teams, and the like. Susie hits a Desperation Bulldog and tags in Kylie. Kylie comes in and cleans house on both women, but goes for the Kylie special. Hogan, however, kicks out. Not necessarily a fan of her kicking out of a finish this early in the match or the feud, but it is what it is. Susie tags in, goes for a fireman's carry, but Tasha nails her with a code breaker. Rae back in. Hogan is there with a super kick on Rae. Susie comes back in, goes for an airplane spin, but Hogan cuts her off again with a super kick on Rae, and top rope Rana by Steelz, and then a twisting fisherman suplex by Hogan for the win. I like everyone involved in this match. I'm not sure that I understand the Susie character. I understand it's an alter ego. I don't quite get what the idea behind it is. I guess I have to see more of it, but all four women work hard. I think this is a place that Impact can set themselves apart. To me, when it comes to quality of women, right now, Impact has even AEW beat. I wouldn't say they have WWE beat because of, Becky and Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks and Bayley, but when it comes to use of less and getting more out of it, I think Impact is doing a phenomenal job there. So let's see. We move on to the announcers running down the card for this evening. Ace Austin is unhappy about losing to Willie Mack before the tournament, and Ace is unhappy with this and says he doesn't dwell on the past. He's only focused on his future and winning the World Championship, as well he should be. As I've mentioned before, and I'll say it again, Ace Austin, the best thing going in Impact today as far as upside is concerned. I would do almost anything to keep him if I was in a position to do so, because I think he has the ability to be probably the biggest star in Impact since they changed names, perhaps, in terms of upside. They may have bigger stars with star power that are getting older, but as far as a guy that can translate into a complete package, I think he has that. Moose interrupts, congratulates him, tells him to challenge for the TNA Championship. The Impact Championship is an imposter. I still don't quite get the whole imposter thing, but whatever. Joseph P. Ryan with OVE defeats Crazy Steve. Jake and Dave Christ are out with Ryan by Ryan's invitation. Not really a fan of this whole thing. The Crazy Steve thing is just, to me, a knockoff, so it's not really for me. So, Crazy Steve starts kind of commiserating about a previous gimmick that I'm not going to mention because it's a G-rated channel of Joey Ryan. You can read between the lines there. Steve reacted by getting fired up, and he goes nuts, hits a couple clotheslines, gets a near fall. Ryan recovers from this and ultimately catches Steve with a decent enough drop kick with a cutoff. You know, there's a little bit of what we can assume is blood from Steve after this. I don't know, hard way or whatever. I'm not necessarily a fan of blood in a match that's just inconsequential, but that's just a personal opinion type thing. Ryan gets a couple of near falls. Steve fights back and is biting his head, running a cannonball and going for a finishing sequence, but the Christs distract him and distract the referee. Ryan super kicks him and gets a win. Really a throwaway segment, and I will be honest and say I have a bias against the whole Joey Ryan character, so probably not. You know, it's hard for me to be impartial about that because I don't see any real value in what he brings to the table, and that's a personal opinion, nothing more, nothing less. But to me, it's a right to censor knockoff 20 years later, and I just don't get why they're going in that direction. Ryan invites Jake into the ring to join cancel culture, but Jake has to change, and he hits his own brother with a spin kick. The brother storyline, yeah, it's been done in wrestling, and since the Hearts, it hasn't been done well, so I'm not holding out too much hope. Raju versus Chase Stevens. Stevens, for being around for, at least 20 years, because he was around the beginning of TNA, and they're almost, 18 years old, so he'd been around for a couple years before that. He looks really good. Raju hits quite a number of shots early. Stevens with a comeback, punches, kicks, and he keeps nailing the momentum until he gets nailed with a running knee lift for near fall. Rohat keeps going after the leg of his opponent. Stevens hits a short clothesline and to kill the momentum. Rohat hits a side leg sweep for near fall, and then Chase comes back with the attempted German, but it's countered by Rohat and drops him with a reverse STO. Then they go to chokes and really basic moves, gets a back elbow, and gets distracted by the camera. Just really a rookie mistake, both in story and otherwise. I mean, if you're in the flow of beating a guy, why would you stop to mug for the camera? In both senses, kayfabe and non. Chase makes another series of comebacks, kicks, and hits, and then he finally does hit the release German, a scissors kick for near fall. Chase goes for moonsault, but lands really awkwardly in on the knees of his opponent, and this does not look good. Stevens hits a low kick, and Rohit hits a jumping knee, double stop combo for the win. Not a bad match. I don't know where they're going with Rohit, but they've got to figure out something. He says after the match that he is the most underrated wrestler in the world. I think the world is a stretch. Most underrated Impact is very probable. Rhino gores him from behind for a reason that is still a mystery to everyone watching Impact, which at this rate might be more people than end up watching SmackDown within the next 6 months. So Havoc and Nevaeh interviewed about her arrival. Nevaeh says they are going to be powerful because Havoc is free from James Mitchell, and they have rejoined as an unstoppable team. We go to locker room talk with Madison Rayne. I love Madison Rayne on commentary. I say that every week. I'm not really into the locker room talk thing, but it serves as an interesting interview segment. It's just not really clicking with me, and Johnny Swinger does his deal. Chris Bay is the guest for this week. Swinger is excited about his tag team partner. Madison asks about Bay about joining Impact, but Swinger jumps in, answers for him. Swinger jumps in and answers for him multiple times throughout the interview. Says he could easily become the X Division champion, but the Finesse and Bench Press Express, somehow I don't see that on a t-shirt. They will make their debut next week against Willie Mack and some other ham and egger, as was put forward here. Chris Bay agrees to team with him, and there are people that like the Swinger thing. I think it's too over the top, and I think it takes away a little much. It's good in really small doses, but I'd like to see his segments cut in half in terms of time, because a little bit goes a long way. It has its place. I like it, but I think they're doing a little too much with it. That's just me. Impact plus flashback moment. As mentioned, I don't particularly like these. Jimmy Jacobs interviews Jordana Grace, who says she's been training in her absence and she's returning stronger. Knockouts division is stronger than ever before. Talia interrupts, saying that she's the champion and she wouldn't have taken time off. The Rascals, Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz, defeat Falaba and TJP in a number one contenders tag team championship match. This wasn't terrible, but it kind of, to me, shows the weakness in the tag division. There's a definite drop-off when you go champions of Ethan Page, who to me is the second most valuable player in Impact, and Josh Alexander, who I haven't seen enough of to really form a true opinion on. Only been watching Impact for 3 or 4 months, but suffice to say he's very good. And then there's a drop-off there. So Radicals make jokes about, wrestling in an empty arena. Said they're doing it for the TJP says they're doing it for the fans at home. They do the elbow bump, as a sign of respect. Bala and Desmond start the match. Bala using his size advantage to cut off Desmond's attack, and they do several reversals with the big man actually showing speed, which is kind of cool. TJP and Wentz come in and had competitive sequences, counterhold reversals, and chain wrestling. This goes on for several minutes. This is very good. I will give them credit for this particular series of sequences. TJP gets too close to the Rascals corner, and they start double teaming him. Fala comes in and took on both Radicals. to set up the Poetry in Motion spot with TJP hitting a near fall. TJP with a suplex, and he goes for a backplex, but Wentz escapes and makes a tag. They hit a double team off the tag. The Rascals do several quick double team moves, but TJP manages to dodge. He hits a tornado DDT and gets a tag to his partner. Paula runs wild over both men, running splashes. There's a Samoan drop in here for near fall. A Hadoku punch, throwing back to Street Fighter days. Desmond goes into the corner. TJP hits a rolling fireman's carry into a slam, and they get a near fall here. TJP hits a twisting suplex, dragon screw leg whip, and Xavier comes back, hits a combo, gets a tag to his partner, standing moonsault for near fall. I mean, as I read through this report, it's just spot, and that's what I don't like about it. Like, it's great to watch if you're into that PWG independent wrestling level action, which I think has its place, but I'd rather see that in a singles with a defined story rather than tag. Without a defined story, yes, it's number one contenders, but it doesn't really make me want to see the winner of this go after the champions. Anyway, Rascals hits a super kick and a foot stomp combination. Fala breaks things up. Wentz takes out Bala hitting a jumping boot. Dez comes in and hits a Pele kick and gets countered into an ankle lock. Wentz assisted Desmond with a punch, rolling him into a bridging pin over TJP for the win. And interesting finish, but it felt disjointed, it felt uncomfortable, it felt too long. That's the vibe I got from the match. There is a rematch offered whenever is desired. Virtuoso Deanna Perosa is there, and this is phenomenal. This is Impact's version of Britt Baker, Kurt Angle, and all the other things. She's coming in next week. They really are dedicating themselves to the women's division. Rosemary and Johnny Bravo, who actually Rosemary's growing on me as a character, which I didn't think I would feel, but I do. They're walking down the street, and Bravo said that he'd never had this much fun with somebody or with Talia, and Rosemary invited him to work for her. Rosemary tries to seduce him, but they do the old, serpent asks you to bite the apple, but right then Talia calls. Storyline-wise, I'm intrigued by this. I want to see where it's going. I wasn't there over the last couple of weeks, but it finally turned the corner for me. Michael Elgin barges into the production truck, demands his music gets played, and he goes to the ring. Elgin says he's the rightful world champion, but keeps getting done wrong, and he allowed himself to lose last week because of Sami Callihan. Elgin says that Callihan knew he had nothing on him, and he says that the tournament finals were next, and he wasn't leaving the ring until he was declared the number one contender for the Impact Championship. Man, the ship for me has sailed on Elgin. I get what people see. He's talented, he's big, he's muscular, but he lacks credibility. If he were the butt kicker that he claims to be, if he were all that and a bag of beef jerky, then wouldn't he be further along in his career? And I think if they were going to pull the trigger on it, they would have already had to do it. Anyway, so Ken Shamrock comes out. Elgin attacks Shamrock, and they start brawling all over the place. Shamrock gets the better of it, thankfully. Multiple knees. Shamrock went for an ankle lock. Elgin escapes. Obviously, they're going with Elgin and Shamrock. Obviously, Elgin's going to go over because of Shamrock's age and advanced position. I'm not looking forward to that. I still would take Shamrock in a main event position over Elgin at this point, but that's just me. Um, Ace Austin comes down to the ring for his match with Trey Miguel, makes entrance, and he is suddenly jumped from behind. We go to the back where Trey has been taken out by Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz. They call for help. Wentz went after the attacker. Let me clarify that. Wentz and Xavier find out who the attacker is, but they were not the attackers. That sounded clunky the way I said it because I wrote it incorrectly. Anyway, Austin said it's unfortunate, but may as well be declared the winner here. Scott D'Amore comes down to deal with the problem. Says Wentz could take Trey's place in the match, but didn't specify whether he was a replacement or not. Madison Rayne makes a note that Wentz could become the number one contender tonight. And I don't really care for the fill-in spot. Like, why go to the trouble of having a tournament if you're just going to invalidate it with something like this? Anyway, Wentz starts strong. Austin gets nailed with a drop kick, and Wentz gets an early 2 count. He stays on the offense until the referee interferes because he's too aggressive with strikes. Wentz then hits a big super kick and punches. Ace Austin finally manages to pull Wentz face first into the buckle to cut him off. We go to the commercial. We come back from the commercial. Ace has recovered a bit, and Wentz sweeps the leg. Ace keeps attacking him on the floor, ramming him into the apron, etc. and so forth. Ace stomps on his hand and tries to come back in the ring and works his back, only for Wentz to counter, and they brawl to the outside. Ace nails a spinning kick here. Back in the ring, they trade kicks, an abdominal stretch, and Ace hits a slingshot onto the ropes for 2 count. Ace hits a suplex for 2 count. Wentz comes back. Ace then hits a desperation stunner, creating some space. Locks in an armbar for a attempted submission. Wentz comes back with a chop. Ace easily cuts him off with more strikes and chops and punches. Ace then hits the knees, forcing Ace to rely on pulling Wentz's hair. Wentz hits a decent strike combo and hits a jumping knee to punctuate it. There's a moonsault here for near fall. Ace goes for a backplex, but Wentz escapes and kicked him. Wentz hits a suplex, but Ace rolls through for 2 count, and Wentz responds with a super kick. That's like the 6th super kick in the show. Can we cut back on those? Wentz goes for a swanton bomb. Ace gets the knees up. Ace hits a double foot stomp DDT and a fold for the win. Really standout match for both guys, but Ace coming out ahead is exactly what I wanted. Ace versus Blanchard can be money. And, you know, there's a segment where they announce that 20 wrestlers were relieved due to the global pandemic. Footage shown of Eric Young, Gallows Anderson, Kurt Hawkins, Michael Maria Bennett, EC3, and they plug Slammiversary. Ostensibly, some of these people are coming back to the company, even if only for a short span of time. Overall, this was a above average show by Impact standards, and still better than most SmackDown shows as of late. We will have many more updates, but until then, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.